Okay, everyone, it's just 11 o'clock according to my computer, or 2 o'clock, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today for our presentation on Vidigami. Just a bit of background, agenda, housekeeping. Our aim is to keep this presentation at about 30 minutes. We want to give you a very high-level overview of all the great things that Vidigami can do, get you excited, and then we'll follow up, and we'd love to have further conversations about how this might fit exactly at your school. My name is Jana Lyons. Usually with me today is Tina Barkley. It's spring break, so we're a little short-handed. So I'm going to apologize in advance if anything gets messed up. A couple of things, questions, you can pop them into the question pane and I'll get to them at the end. I've also put a couple of handouts onto the handout task, and you can download those after the fact. So let's get started. What is Vidigami? Vidigami is a secure cloud-based photo management system that was designed exclusively for schools. It captures, collects, and organizes all the memories that the students and the school are making on a daily basis. So we're a content resource platform. We're centralized. We allow unlimited storage. We allow you to add context and tags to that information to make it discoverable. And then we create a unique way for you both to share that information out both privately and publicly. As a bit of background, I actually used to work as a fundraiser, so I like to start with a story. How did Vidigami even come to be? Well, Vidigami was started by a mom who was a tech entrepreneur. And as her two children were about to embark on their independent school voyage, she knew that she was working, so she wasn't going to capture every moment, but she also knew that she loved to take photos herself. And she wanted to share them with the community. She envisioned this unique community where everybody could share their photos of what was happening at school and foster the friendship and relationships that really build the unique community of your school. Well, with that as the background and the basis, we went out and we spoke to schools. So we've been to a lot of case-NACE conferences over the years. And what we heard was that there was a pain point. And that pain point is managing photos. Whereas you may have started with a couple of thousand photos on an annual basis, schools are now dealing with 20,000, 30,000 photos on a yearly basis. And this is valuable content. And if it's not organized, it's not useful. So all of a sudden, the fact that your photos are in a shoebox somewhere, or on drives in people's desks, or stored departmentally really matters. When we're at case-NACE shows, I've had advancement officers come up to me and say, oh, the head of school is looking for a photo of a student. And it would take them up to 5 hours to find that photo. When I pop into the demo, you'll be amazed at how quickly and easily you can find content relevant to your needs. So what we did was we created this environment unique to private schools or unique to schools that allowed you to capture, organize, intelligently organize, group them, add context, and then share them both publicly and privately out with your families. Not only that, we then allow you to personalize your communications with your families, really building that community engagement, because we never lost that core of why that was important to Vidigami. We still always want to be about engaging your community. We want you to organize your photos, but we want to engage your community. The net result is a product that we believe adds value across all the departments within your school. Marketing, advancement, communications now have access to more content than ever. IT, it's all centralized in the cloud. People can access it on the go from wherever. Families can see what their children are doing, reinforcing their decisions to send them to private school or independent school. And students can look back at their time, and schools can use it for alumni development. I'm just going to pop out of here and pop into the demo. I am logged in to the Vidigami system. I've logged in as Alex. He is the administrator. Most schools set it up with 1 or 2 administrators or super users as they're called. So he has a lot of privileges, all the privileges on how the school uses the system. If you go over here on the left-hand side, and I've dropped down, you can see we have a drop-down menu of years. You can build that year after year view of lifetime at the school. So I click on 2014, 2015, season selector. I'm going to change everything over to that year. I'm going to click on the logo. This would be your school name and your school logo. And we pop up the group directory. This is the organization of how Vidigami works. We have fixed categories here. We have internal, academics, athletics, arts, events, clubs, and off-campus. Underneath those categories, you can have any number of groups and any number of albums. Most of the activity happens under athletics and academics. So I'm just going to start in that area. Under academics, you can see that some schools that we have on board are very small, so they just want it by grade. We have schools that are over 1,600 students, and they want it by grade and by class. If I click into grade 1, Mr. Chan's class, I'm popped up into the albums. They're not folders, they're albums, and albums are the basic structure behind Vidigami. Photos can live in more than one location. Albums can live in more than one location. Everything within Vidigami, every action is a big green button. So if I wanted to create a new album, I'd click on it. I'd create the album. It could be the beach trip. We could be going on the beach trip with grade 2 Mr. Fraser's class. I could add some tags so it becomes searchable and add context. And away you go. That album is created. So it's very easy to get the albums into the systems. It's also very easy to get content into the system. As you've noticed, I go over up here to the right-hand side. I click on the upload. System's smart enough to know that I'm not in the correct year. I want to proceed anyway. I could drag and drop from my computer up to 100 photos at a time into each of those albums. It would go off in the background, upload them, notify me once it's done. You can also see with albums, you could feature them, you can say whether they're published, or you could lock them or unlock them. I'm going to click into the album. Once again, nice size images. Gives you a great visual. I have everything set up on my system at home with nice little folders and JPEGs, and I'm constantly clicking open JPEGs trying to find photos. The way Vidigami works is that it's all about getting the content in the right place, and we're automatically applying the context. So if I click on this photo, we automatically know it's been put into 2014, 2015, into grade 1 Mr. Chan's class, the first week back. We capture whose name, who uploaded it. So we're adding the accountability to the system. If you click over here under more info, you can see that we've got the pixel size. From a marketing perspective, this tells you whether this photo is useful for marketing purposes. You could also add tags. I'm going to take a bit of time after I pop through this to talk about the tags, but tags can be applied at the group, the album, and the photo level, really making all your content discoverable, not just for now, but for in the future. If I click through, I can look at the photos in the album. You can see that Paige has got her name associated. I click on here, and I think I know that's Chloe. Automatically, a drop-down menu is provided. We call this intelligent tagging. So what the system does is it knows I'm in grade 1 Mr. Chan's class, so it's going to present to me all the names of the students in grade 1 Mr. Chan's class with a C in their name. And I could identify that as Chloe, add it, and she's been successfully tagged. In addition to the intelligent tagging, we also provide facial recognition. I do want to provide a bit of information and a few cautions about that. Facial recognition is running in the background. We run it against all of our schools, and we have it set up so that there's no verification stage. So to ensure that we are fairly confident it is the correct name, we've created that threshold very high. So the system needs to be 90% confident before we automatically apply the name. So by combining the facial recognition and the intelligent tagging, schools are able to get a significant number of names into the system. But you need to be actively working at both, because the facial recognition needs some good front-on photos and to build the training set, and the combination gets all the names into the system. If I go down to the bottom, you can add this to sets. I'm going to talk about the sets briefly in a moment. Sets are bookmarks or collections of photos that you like and how you could use them. You could download photos. If I click on here, you could see that we could rotate it, but also report it. If for some reason somebody doesn't like a photo within the system, you can report it, and we give them reasons as to why. It's automatically removed from the system, and then the administrators have the ability to review those photos and decide whether it should be returned. And you can notice that there's a delete button here. Also handy, because only the people that upload the photos can delete the photos. I've heard a couple of stories of people when they share out their various drives that people accidentally delete the entire folder or the album. And that can't happen with Vidigami. You need to be the owner of the photo before you can delete it, or the administrator has that capability. Once again, going back, upload. I could upload directly into the album. Same way I could do the group uploads. I could edit this album. And this is a nice feature because, once again, photos aren't valuable unless you've applied the context or the background. I actually have some photos on my computer at home of my children when they were in elementary school, and I really can't tell were they in grade 2 or were they in grade 3. So the ability to add the description and make it usable content for the future is one of the key values of Vidigami to a school. Easy to add more groups, easy to add tags. The share link. We ask parents to activate their Vidigami accounts because we're creating that unique community. The share link automatically generates the link that teachers could then email out or put on Facebook or put on Twitter. A couple of examples of that. This album's the first week back at school. So the teacher could very easily email this out, attach it to their weekly email and say, hey, we've had a great first week at school. Check out the photos of how much fun the children have had in their new classrooms. Or create an album, beach trip. Hey, we're going on a field trip to the beach. Parents that are coming with us as chaperones, please make sure all the photos get into this album. So there's a lot of ways that this link can be used to make it, to simplify the process of getting photos into the system. As I said, we've got all the different albums. We've got the names in the system. I've shown you how to easily create the albums. I'm going to go back to the group directory. And I'm going to look at the internal section. As I mentioned, this is a demo site. We do have permission to use all these photos. There's a bit of repetition in them. I apologize. But this is a lot of examples of how schools actually use our system. They would set up a group for advancement, or they would set up a group for marketing and communications. You would add your members. That might be your marketing and communications team. What's unique here is if I clicked on settings, you can see that we've made these private. And what's great about that is then only those members can see the content. So for marketing, yearbook, advancement, you're keeping some content back. You're keeping it fresh. You're going to share it out when you really want to make the most impact. If I go to sets, as I mentioned, sets were bookmarks of photos that you like throughout the system. On an annual basis, we survey our customers. We say, hey, what do you love about Vidigami? And I will say we get lots of what they love. We have a 95% retention rate, so we're pretty proud of that. But the one thing that our customers said to us at the end of the school year was, we really want a way to share out some of these photos publicly. We want an easy way to be able to do that. So using the concepts of sets, We've now added the ability to make this a public set. It gives you a reminder that it'll be going external to the community. I'd save that. And now if I wanted to share that set, the system has automatically generated a share link. So a great use case of that, let's say it's a family for advancement purposes and you wanted to share all the photos of their grandchild. They're not on the Vidigami, but they're still big donors. So you want to share the photos easily with them. Creating a set of Graham family photos, sharing it out through the slideshow, easy way. Or you could just click the embed code, drop it into your digital display at the front of the school. Drop it into your website. We have links with the Final Site and Blackbaud, so you can put it in both Composer and the On products. And what's great about this, as you update your set, it dynamically updates the code. So great new feature that we're very excited about. We really believe now we're offering you both the best of both private sharing and public sharing. Click back into there. Tags. As you can see here, in our example, we've got about 22 of them. The tags are created by the administrator. We don't leave it up to the system to randomly generate content or tags. That could leave a school open to some embarrassing situations. Same way, you can only apply a name that is registered in the system. You can't put nicknames, you can't put inappropriate names. But what's great about the tags is it now makes all the content discoverable or searchable. Let's say you're in marketing and you've got a newsletter coming out in the fall and you want some pictures of pumpkins. There you go, easily. Let's say you're at advancement and you want some pictures of Paige Graham. There she is. But what's even great, well, it's all great, but if I go to the right-hand side, I could actually filter that by year. That's what she looked like in the previous year. Or let's say I wanted to refine that further because Paige's family's coming in and you wanted to ask them about donating to the track and field program. There's some great photos of Paige doing track and field. So it really, in that instance where the head of school came and it took them 5 hours to find the photo, you could make the much better use of your 5 hours than searching for the photos because you can easily find them now with Vidigami. The other thing I just want to pop into is the administration button. This is the enrollment of the entire school. I always kind of go with the same old joke, but there's only 27 people here, parents, teachers, staff. I'm not sure whether my school is going to be around next year. You can filter it by student. What's great about this, so if I selected all those students, I can actually export that list. And if you're a fundraiser and you're using your CRM on a daily basis and you don't want to flip back and forth, you can import the web link to the student directly into your CRM, streamlining that whole process. This is where we house the reported photos. This is where we create the tags. It's going to take a minute here because it's going to identify all the tags. Once again, big green button. If I want to create a new tag, there we go. Roles. When I first started demoing Vidigami, I'd have a little piece of paper beside me because people would say, well, what can an administrator do? And I'd have to pull it out and say, well, it's all in the system. If I drill down, there's the functionality of the administrator, functionality of the manager, contributor, and spectator. Vidigami is a centralized system. We want to get all the photos into the cloud, but we don't want to rely on just one person to be doing all that work. You want your administrator to be setting the system up, and then you want to be distributing the work out amongst the teams, the classes, the parents, the managers, getting the content into the system. And by creating these different roles, you ensure that everybody has a role within the system to get the photos in. What's nice about this too is many schools are excited about community engagement. But what I've found, every school defines community engagement slightly differently. And we're not about to tell you what that looks like for your school. What we've done is we've created a system that allows you to fit into your school environment and in many cases grow so you can get more content or use it internally. Most schools that use it internally do end up sharing it out with the families because they ultimately get such great content that they do want to share that. What's neat about this is we've now also added the ability to create custom roles. So let's say you're a high school and your students are on the yearbook class and you want them to have slightly more permission. You want them to be able to go through and see all the photos. You can create that unique role where your student has more access. Or you have professional photographers. You can now create unique roles for professional photographers within the system. All of that can be easily managed now under roles. Integrations. We do offer single sign-on with both Blackbaud and Final Site. Single sign-on being on the front end so that once a parent activates their Vidigami account, once they're logged onto your web page, after they've activated their account for the first time, thereafter it's just a simple and straight pass-through. I'm going to log out as Alex and quickly log in and just show you what a parent would see. What's great about what a parent sees is it's very similar. There's nothing too different. In this case, I'm logged in as Allison. She's actually a parent who is a teacher. I could filter again by year. If I wanted to see all the photos of Chloe, there she is. If I wanted to see the photos of Chloe currently, there she is. So as a parent, what's important to me is my child. And having been a parent of children in independent school, I know that that's true. The first thing you love to do is see the photos of your children. Along the left-hand side, you also have the listing of the various groups that you have access to. So that permission-based system is determined by the school as to who can see what within the system. You can see up here we also have a shop that's available to both parents and the schools, allowing for self-publishing. Class books, we are working on integration with yearbooks, particular Peekaboo, so that you'll be able to have a streamlined flow from the various albums or directly into your yearbook framing software, such as I mentioned, Peekaboo. Click out of there, log out, and I just wanted to go back and share a couple of slides with you. We talked about the public and private sharing. That is our newest feature. We're very excited about it. Schools love the ability to be able to easily store all the photos, but then publicly share out the few that are key onto their websites, onto their LMS, onto digital display systems. Didn't talk about mobile, but I do want to mention we do have a mobile app. It makes it extremely simple for parents to use. The interface is awesome, and it allows you to capture the photos on the go. Parents, teachers on field trips can get the photos in. You can actually tag within the system and upload directly into the albums. I talked briefly about fundraising, and here's just a quick screen grab of Razor's Edge, and as you can see we've dropped in the web address to Vidigami underneath there so that as you're using Vidigami to collect and house all the content, you can easily access it, but it plays an integral role in that whole development cycle. How do you research? How do you cultivate? How do you personalize your communications with your donors and then steward them for future asks? Quite often we'll get the question, that's great, we want to go forward, but what about all that content we have? What do we do with it? With that, we've created Rewind. So we do have the ability for schools to go back. You can organize all your content, upload the class lists, you can tag. The facial recognition doesn't work backwards, but we do have a way for you to store all that content out and then share it with alumni. I briefly talked about the shop. So we do have lots of ways for school to do self-publishing. And partnerships. Just to reiterate, we do have single sign-on with Blackbaud and Finalsite, and yearbook integration with Peekaboo. One of the things that schools love and are always talking about is, that's great, who's using our system? We want to know that Vidigami is adding value. And we prepare this weekly insights report, allows schools to be able to see who's doing what on the system, and then shows them the value of the system as to who's uploading and the engagement. What's really interesting to us is that we look at this kind of on a global perspective on a weekly basis. Uploads and activity on the system as a result of our mobile app are about equal now with the web app. So it just proves to us that people are really engaged with the mobile side, and that the app itself is extremely easy to use because the parent side of that has significantly increased. What's coming? Feeds and notifications. Feeding out directly as you log in what's important to you, unique to each parent, whether it's a student or a staff member, what's unique to you. Video, we will be adding the ability to embed video clips from YouTube and Vimeo and upload short MP4 clips. And student artworks. I love this feature. Simple. It's not just about getting photos, it's about building that digital resume as students go forward. So by adding the ability to add student works, we could add the artwork, we could add the images of the projects, the reports, get all of that in and really build out that view of a student's time at your school. Last question or last slide, pricing. We've recently revised our pricing. We used to do it per student. Now we have a tier based on the number of students. It starts at $99 a month. We still offer the same feature and functionality for the reduced pricing. We have unlimited storage in the cloud. We provide the training, support and maintenance. You have unlimited system access and ongoing access to our client success team. There are some incremental fees for integration depending on the SSO provider. I'm going to pop out of there and thank you all, and I'll answer a couple of questions. As I mentioned, our goal today was to give you a half hour, which I think I'm bang on, overview of the product to show you the great ways it can really help within your school. And then reach out to us and we can have further conversations, specific questions. But I'm happy to answer some questions. There are handouts attached. Please feel free to download them. There's one on Rewind, a product overview, and how to use the share links. Questions. Who is the owner of the content? And you use our purposes? That's a great question. We are a service. We are a cloud-based service. Our end user agreement states as such. The school owns the photos. The great thing about that is when parents sign the end user agreement and access their Vidigami accounts, they're giving you, the school, permission to use those photos. Something I normally mention, but I didn't today, is we do have permission to use all those photos in the demo account. Those are typically pictures of our children. What is the maximum size of videos we're able to upload? We're not able to upload video at this time. That is on our roadmap, and we haven't quite got all the feature and functionality worked out on that. Happy to take that conversation offline and understand your needs better. And it'll be the same, student artwork uploaded, it'll be the same way as photos. Just be drag and drop. Do parents have to tag photos when they are uploaded is the question. Parents can, they don't always. It depends on generations. It depends on school culture. Most people are very comfortable tagging photos as soon as they're uploaded and getting that information in right away. Some people go back and do it later. Sometimes schools are involved in that process. Every school is slightly different. Next question. We have a contract with a school photographer. How does your product enable protection? We are still working on that. We have the ability to lock the album so that people cannot download the photos from the professional photographer takes, they could still do a screen grab, but they're not getting the same quality of that. So by putting the lock on the album, it prevents people from downloading the photos. Are you working to enable SSO with Veracross? We have approached and we're working, our fall roadmap includes SIS integration. So we're really going to work on the back end. And the back end providers are the Veracross and the Blackbaud, so that we can integrate the student information systems right into the system and update it easily. Can you take photos from another photo site and transfer them to your site? You can easily drag and drop batch photos up to 100 at a time into the system. We also provide services that we can do within Vidigami. Most schools will get some of their volunteers or student volunteers of the summer to do that process or the transfer. But with the batch drag and drop, it really makes it quite simple. How many people are typically involved in the management of Vidigami at a school? So when I logged in as an administrator, we had Alex. Most schools will probably have 2 to 3 administrators per school. Those key super users, in many cases, it's an IT person and a communications person. And we encourage that because what happens if somebody leaves the school? You don't want the process to falter. So if you have a few key people involved, it really works well in keeping the momentum going. Can they download regular photos? Yes. Any photo that is uploaded into the cloud, we do not do any compression on the photos, so we store full resolution images. We store the photo and the content separately. Any photo that is downloaded as a full resolution photo. How long is the typical setup? Setup is pretty quick. It really depends on the school. Once we get the onboarding forms, which contain the information about the school and the students, it takes us probably about 48 hours to set up the site. I actually had a school in Alabama last week sign the contract, send us the onboarding forms, do their training, and launch it to parents within 2 weeks. And they're one of our top users in the last week. There's some pricing questions here, but I'd love to take those offline that I could maybe answer them specifically. Other question, is there a trial period that is offered that we can try your system? We don't have a trial period per se. Given that there's a lot of work to set the system up on our end and get things going, what we are offering out to schools right now is a reduced fee to try it for 2016, 2017. We can set this all up. Our annual renewal basis is July 1st, so you can use it from now till July 1st. Test it, engage your parents, get your photos in, love it, and then renew on July 1st. And we've done that because most schools set their budgets up so that the new budget cycle starts. So in terms of pricing, we do have some special pricing available to that. Happy to answer those questions one-off. Please email us, sales@Vidigami, and it gets to either Tina or me. Do you have a demo that we could use? We don't have a demo, but we do have a sandbox. So very similar to that demo site, I do have a sandbox that I could give people access to, and with some instructions as to click through how some of those very simple tasks. And what do we do with years of photos, thousands and thousands of photos on another site? That's probably a conversation we could have offline too, and because there are ways to get them into the system a little bit more easily than dragging and dropping them by 100 at a time if you have thousands and thousands. So let me answer that offline. A couple more questions here that I'm just going to roll through. How long has Vidigami been in existence? We have had production software for 3 years, so we have schools that have been using us for 3 years. We have early adopter schools that have been with us for 5 years. Are photos live as soon as they are uploaded? Yes, they are. That's why we have the report, and also the notifications and feeds that are coming, which will stream the new content out to the school as it arrives. Can we upload CBS files to populate the student info? Not at this point. And how do we get the sandbox to go through things? Just reach out to sales@vidigami.com. We will be reaching out to each of you as soon as this session is over. And finally, to clarify, the photos are live as soon as they're uploaded by the parents. That is correct. Hope I was able to answer your questions, give you an overview of what we do, and thank you once again for taking time to join us this morning.